cheated, lied to, or scammed? She's tackling every opportunity to make something that's going wrong right. Better call Bingham.
From large corporations to mom and pop businesses, most have a website. But did you know your website could be a sitting duck for a lawsuit that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars? Business websites, just like the physical locations, are required under the Americans with Disabilities Act to be accessible.
And that includes customers who are blind or deaf. 8 on Your Side investigator Shannon Bankin joins us now. And Keith and I were so interested when we heard you were doing this story, because I don't think a lot of businesses even think about this being a possibility.
This is something so many businesses haven't heard of. I've been hearing from them all day. But if your website isn't accessible, those who are visually or hearing impaired can't use the site. And some of those people are fighting back. I found disabled activists filing ADA website lawsuits by the stackful. Ben Tundis and Donna Dansel own Island Comfort Footwear in Westfield Countryside Mall in Clearwater.
And this is my shipping area where I do my web orders.
They decided to expand by selling their shoes online. They launched a website, and then, bam, a lawsuit.
Summons on a Thursday night at 8 o'clock at night in the dark. Got a knock on the door.
A blind woman in South Florida claims their website isn't compatible with screen reading software used by the visually impaired, leaving her unable to buy their shoes.
It's a $65 a month website. You know, it's
Was there ever any mention on what you need to do to make sure you're ADA compliant?
Absolutely not. No mention at all.
When most business owners think ADA, they think handicap parking spots, ramps, and grab bars in restrooms. ADA lawsuits are nothing new. But now the spotlight is on websites. 2,285 ADA website lawsuits were filed in federal courts in 2018, a yearly increase of a whopping 181%. Emily Fuller, the woman who sued the Clearwater shoe store, has gone after 175 businesses in the past 2 years, shown here by all of these lawsuits. First, she went after big names like Sephora, Home Depot, and Chick-fil-A. Now she has sued a store that sells Tampa Bay Lightning gear inside Amalie Arena. Critics call these mass lawsuits a shakedown.
The attorneys are telling us, we spoke to many, they're saying you can't fight this. If you fight this, you're going to quadruple your bill. There's nothing you can do, just write them a check.
Companies settle because there's no defense to ignoring ADA requirements. Ms. Fuller's attorney tells me his client is an advocate fighting to improve society, and these lawsuits are not going away.
$3:49.72 link.
To better understand the struggle facing the blind, I sat down with Louise Payton, a Tampa woman who uses a screen reader to do things like shop,
Suspected Seminole Heights serial killer speaks.
read the news,
Enter email or phone edit.
and use Facebook. When websites don't have the correct codes to communicate with her software, she's excluded.
Terms link crime not a robot checkbox not checked.
It has to be really frustrating. You get this far and you can't get past that one thing.
Exactly.
Frustrations like that are why Chris Danielson of the National Federation of the Blind tells me businesses need to update their websites. But he believes education and negotiation should come first.
Rather than spraying businesses with a fire hose of litigation, a much more thoughtful and transparent approach would be a better form of advocacy.
Tundis agrees with that.
Now take a few steps with that thing compared to your fanning.
He takes this lawsuit personally and says he would have helped Ms. Fuller and changed his website if she had just asked.
Now we service everyone here as if they're our family.
So who's making money on this? Well, the plaintiffs aren't supposed to receive any money because they aren't allowed to sue for damages under the ADA, but the lawyers are collecting attorney's fees that could range from a couple $1,000s to $20,000 and a lot more if this goes to trial, and that's why so many people settle.
But that could crush a small business. I mean,
Yes.
it begs the question, how do you make sure that your website is compliant, and is it a simple fix?
Sometimes it can be simple, but oftentimes it's not. It's a lot easier to do this on the front end when you're launching your website. You need to make sure that your web developer knows how to make your site compatible. There are industry recognized standards and various companies that you can hire to help you with your site. Also, the National Federation of the Blind and the local Lighthouse for the Blind can help. I spoke with both of them, and they said they'll do audits and they'll help people for free in some cases.
Now, the guy at the shoe store said it was costing him $65 a month for his website. But
Right.
if you add this feature that allows the blind to read, is that a lot more money? Is that?
It could be, depending on how complicated your site is. A simple site, I talked to folks who do audits, $1,600 to audit your site, more money, to make sure that it is compatible. So it can add up.
Yeah.
But you're also, you're following the law and you're opening up for potential customers that otherwise wouldn't be able to use your site.
Sure. All right. Interesting. Never would have thought of it. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
If you have a problem that needs solving, you better call Benkin. The telephone number is 1-855-BENKIN.
Businesses hit by a record wave of lawsuits in connection with America's With a Disability Act. In particular, lawsuits that allege websites are not ADA compliant. 1,000 such lawsuits actually filed this year alone, just so far this year, 2018. More this year than in all of 2017. One of the lawyers who crunched the numbers on this show joins us now, Min Vu with Seyfarth Shaw. Min, welcome to the program. Good to see you.
Thank you.
First of all, in what way is a website non-ADA compliant?
Well, so websites have to be designed and constructed in a way that is accessible to people with disabilities.
Right.
So people who are blind, for example, use screen reader software, and that has to interact with the website. And if the website is not designed to interact with it properly, it's not going to work.
So a blind person could sue the website and say, you're not taking care of me under the terms of the Act. I want you to make sure you get it right and pay me some money. Is that how it works?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. Supposing someone is deaf, can you insist that the website speaks to you, has an audio portion? That's part of it?
Well, actually, if you're deaf, then you would want to have closed captioning on your online videos.
Yeah,
So that's
okay.
how-
Okay, I'm sorry. I
But for
mixed
the
it up.
blind people, yes. The blind
Okay.
people would need, the website doesn't have to speak to them. It's the fact that the website has to be compatible with the screen reader software that then reads the content and functionality to the person who's blind.
You know, this kind of thing in America drives me nuts. I just find it a legal money grab. Am I going too far?
Some of it's a money grab, some of it's legitimate. I mean, put it this way. Everything's online now, right? And so it is very difficult to basically do anything without being able to be on a website and be able to access it. So those are legitimate concerns, and there are lots of advocates who are legitimately concerned. The problem is that many of the plaintiffs' lawyers have figured out that the vast majority of businesses don't have an accessible website because everybody was kind of caught with their pants down. You know, there are no regulations on this, and the courts have started to basically come out saying, yes, your website has to be accessible. So everybody's caught kind of unaware, and these plaintiffs' lawyers are taking advantage.
It's going to be wildly expensive if every single website has to be ADA compliant. That's wildly expensive, isn't it?
It's really expensive, absolutely. I mean, you think about how many millions of websites there are out there. I don't even think there are enough consultants to help people. This is not something you and I can just figure out.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, it's
okay,
not.
so the lawyer files the suit and says, you're not compliant. What does the lawyer say? Make your website compliant and or give me money? Is that how it works?
No, usually they ask for give me money and make the website compliant.
Give me money and make it.
Yes.
So punitively, you give me money. And does the lawyer
it's more that the ADA allows lawyers to get their attorney's fees if they win.
Okay.
So as part of the settlement, you're going to have to pay their fees, but sometimes those fees don't necessarily have anything to do with actual time spent.
No, of course they don't. Of course they don't.
Because otherwise the alternative is to litigate the case, and that's very expensive.
I'm sorry, but I do find that a racket. I find it a racket, a legalized racket. I'm sure you don't agree with me, but I'll give the last word to you.
I mean, put it this way. We do defense work, so obviously we're benefiting from this, but the situation is wrong. I mean, there should be regulations on this. There should be a process, clear rules, and time for businesses to basically make their websites accessible.
All right, Minvu, you're not quite joining me on my outrage, but come back again and maybe you will.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. We do appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
A fight for accessibility or personal profit. I-Team investigator Katie LeGrone's ongoing series into excessive ADA lawsuits discovers Florida business owners are now being sued over an ADA violation you've probably never heard of.
If you think the ADA is limited to ramps and parking spaces, meet Louise Payton.
Blank, which is your favorite city park?
Which is your favorite city park?
Blind since birth, she's learned to navigate the world without sight.
Hit this letter.
Account information.
And the World Wide Web is no exception.
Every day I'm online.
Wrapping to top.
Doing something with the paper.
Heading level 1, the new web track.
The internet.
Tab.
I even read the Wall Street Journal.
Tab. All tab. Type in text.
A screen reader literally reads websites to Louise.
I-Teen :
But a new wave of lawsuits filed in the Sunshine State reveal many Florida businesses are dark to the disabled.
Oh, come on. Why is it not showing up? You might as well be locked out.
Our latest investigation into excessive ADA lawsuits uncovers Florida business owners are now being sued for having websites that are not ADA compliant. While the majority are being filed in South Florida by the same Miami-based attorney, numbers show these web suits are on the rise, from just a couple in 2015 to more than 130 a year later.
Follow the money.
Florida Representative Tom Leaks believes it's the next era in ADA abuse.
If there's a new way to gin up a lawsuit and to get themselves into a point of leverage where they can collect attorney's fees, they'll find it.
I think it's an easy way for lawyers to pursue ADA lawsuits.
Scott Trachtenberg knows all about it. His small business was sued over it 3.5 years ago.
When I was served, my initial reaction was surprise, frustration.
But after spending thousands of dollars to make his website ADA compliant, Scott realized something bigger.
I am yet to meet anybody that's aware of this.
Which is how Scott's new business was born.
Test your website for ADA compliance.
Today, he works to make other businesses website friendly to the disabled.
I think that this is something that's only going to become a much larger issue.
www.
What happened? It's not showing up.
A new wave of ADA lawsuits sparking the same old debate.
There are times when I've gotten frustrated and just walked away from a website because I couldn't access it.
Are these cases advocating accessibility for people like Louise Payton?
Check radio button, not check Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
Or personal profit for those who file them?
The new web track sample called...
I'm I-Team investigator Katie LeGrone, taking action for you.
Well, hundreds of Bay Area merchants have been hit hard lately with lawsuits over violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
KPIX 5's Alan Martin has learned it's not just about the brick and mortar businesses, is it?
Not anymore, guys. They're known on the street as click-buy lawsuits. Some serial ADA plaintiffs sue almost exclusively over lack of website access. And hotels, they're the hottest targets. Prabha Patel was eager to show us just how ADA compliant her hotel room for the disabled is.
Oh, very compliant, 100%, 110% compliant.
But it wasn't anything in the room itself that got this San Francisco hotel owner sued recently. It was the hotel's booking website that the plaintiff claimed was not fully accessible. And it's not the only hotel facing that claim.
We had a lawsuit that was filed against us that said their client could not stay at our hotel because it wasn't in compliance. The interesting thing is my hotel was closed, so you couldn't have stayed with us anyway.
John Handelry is CEO of the Handelry Hotel on Union Square that also got sued over its booking site. One of 14 hotels in the Union Square area that got slapped with almost identical complaints in just 1 month last fall.
The hotel industry is going to do everything they can to accommodate people with a disability because they're traveling. So why wouldn't you want to have the ability to have them as guests as anyone else?
The plaintiff in the Handelry case, Samuel Love, a disabled man who's filed more than 850 ADA lawsuits, most involving online web access. Orlando Garcia filed a lawsuit against the inn at Golden Gate. He's the same man who recently sued dozens of merchants in Chinatown and Alameda. Federal website accessibility lawsuits are nothing new, but in the past 5 years, the filings have more than tripled, according to the ADA defense firm Safarth. They jumped another 12% last year during the height of the pandemic.
Yeah, I think they're easy targets, right? So, I mean, from an online standpoint, you don't have to go anywhere. You can do it from your house.
Roshan and Raj Patel run Insight, a company that specializes in ADA compliance for hotel reservation websites, and designed the one for the Inn at Golden Gate.
You have to basically display that you have 32-inch wide openings to the room, if there's a travel path around the bed, if you have an accessible bathroom.
It's all listed in great detail online. But Garcia claims in his lawsuit that when trying to book, he found insufficient information to independently assess whether the room was right for him. The complaint Samuel Love filed against the Handlery Hotel also claims insufficient information to assess a room independently. The law firm behind both lawsuits, Potter Handy, out of San Diego, with more than 1,000 ADA filings this year alone.
I believe that they're running a mill. I think the evidence just shows it. They're just out there and they're attacking as many hotels as they can.
And it's because the way that the ADA works is it's only enforced privately. The only way that it can happen is if people do that.
In a previous interview, Potter Handy attorney Dennis Price told us website accessibility became a more urgent issue during the pandemic.
Many of my clients have severe disabilities that would have made it, potentially very dangerous for them to go out. And so they were doing a lot more stuff on the internet.
This disability activist finds nothing wrong with that.
And if they choose to not comply, then there has to be a point where you have to get their attention.
Ruthie Goldkorn founded the disabled access consulting firm No Barriers.
Not having an accessible website is a barrier to commerce. Once again, sir, Econ 101, take my money, please.
One thing we've kind of seen is that hotels have been hard hit by the pandemic. But then to get hit with a lawsuit, some people say that's a double whammy. You're really knocking these folks out of business, putting them out of business. How do you respond to that?
No one is putting anyone out of business. I have a shirt on my wall behind me, and it says accessibility is a right, not a privilege. And whether it's a major hotel chain or a boutique hotel, there are legal requirements. These are not new laws.
Hotels, meanwhile, are fighting back. John Handlery, who has been sued before and usually just settles, got fed up this time. He pushed back and won. A federal judge dismissed Love's complaint.
The judge threw it out, saying she looked at the website and determined I wasn't compliant on what I had on the website.
Prabha Patel is still battling it out, but confident.
The case will be dropped.
Really?
Yes. Because I know my rooms, okay? I know my business.
Late today, Potter Handy lawyer Dennis Price got back to us to say they're not able to comment on pending cases and none of their clients is interested in being interviewed.